Hi, I am Chris Wade. I'm the owner-operator of Doc's Mobile RV Service located in Poncha Springs, Colorado, the crossroads of the Rockies. I service a 30-mile radius around here to include Salida and Buena Vista, Colorado. I've had quite a few memorable service calls to include challenging and positive ones. One specific call that currently comes to mind is a customer called me frantically stating that their freshwater holding tank fell through the RV belly and is now sitting on their campsite under the RV. She stated there are wires and water lines everywhere. She also stated that her RV belly was also ripped off the bottom of the RV frame. And on top of that, she said they were due to leave the next morning. Fortunately, I was off that day and was able to get out to her and get it all fixed so that they could make it back home in time the next day. I had to think outside of the box and go to a few local hardware stores to find some items I could use to make this repair. There is nothing more satisfying than to be able to assist someone who is visiting the area and is in need of help. Far too many times, RVers have a rough go with camping simply because of misinformation and lack of knowledge. When you call me, you not only get your challenge or challenges diagnosed and repaired, but I take the time to educate you as well. The benefit of choosing mobile RV repair versus taking it to a shop is that we come directly to you and diagnose and repair immediately on the day of your appointment. There is the occasion where we might have to special order a part and follow up with you within a week, at least in my experience. Normally my turnaround time, if I have to come back, is no longer than a week out. You don't have to drop your RV off at the service center anymore and wait weeks to months to get your service completed. Plus, you're able to be with me while I'm performing the repairs, which enables you to know that the job has been completed properly. And on top of that, I love to talk shop and I love to educate my customers on any and everything that they may have questions on with their RV. Unfortunately, there are many times where someone is claiming to be an RV technician is not properly trained nor certified. This happens at both dealerships and locally owned small businesses. So be sure to do your part and ask for credentials. The benefit of hiring me as an RVTAA certified technician is that I have been formally trained and am required to complete a minimal of 24 hours of CEUs a year to maintain my certification. There is always more to learn, but I am very skilled and confident in most things RVs due to my experience RVing and from my education at RV Technician School in Athens, Texas. All of my work is guaranteed and backed by insurance if needed. I don't know that I would necessarily call it a specialty, but I do have a few things that I work on a lot more than others. One of those being furnaces. We do live up here in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado at elevation. We start at 7,500 feet and we have many peaks that reach up to 14,000 feet. So we do stay a bit cooler up here, which means people are normally running their furnaces on a nightly basis up here, even on some summer nights. So I become very skilled and familiar and capable with most any and every furnace. I also do a lot of axle work, specifically servicing the bearings, checking your brake assemblies, looking at your axle hangers, etc. And a lot of people don't realize that it is recommended that your bearings be repacked once a year or every 12,000 miles, whichever comes first. I take a lot of pride in doing bearing repacks and servicing axles because it is very important. One other thing that I work a lot on, which may not be a surprise to you, is water lines, specifically frozen pipes. Unfortunately, these RVs are not necessarily made, even though they claim to be made to handle extreme temperatures. So even when you do the best you can, your furnace or your water lines normally have a challenge out here if you're going to have any challenges. So those are a few things that I work on a lot that I take great pride in and I feel I'm very skilled at. What motivated me to become a certified RV technician? So I am now 39 years old and I started camping at the age of 4. Now I Didn't camp consistently for those many years, but some of the fondest memories I have were camping at a young age with my mom's parents, um, and some such great memories. Anyways, even back then, there was always something going on with an RV or camper that needed to be fixed or that broke or whatever. And I'll never forget my grandpa getting so upset every time we parked at the next campground. There's something had gone wrong or something happened. Um, and so, fast forward many, many, many years, my wife and I started camping together and owned our first camper, Keystone Cougar specifically. I guess it was about 7 years ago. And then several years after that, we decided to become full time RVers and nomads. We sold everything. We started traveling the country looking for a better opportunity and a place that fit our desires and our lifestyle better. Fortunately, we were able to find that. And while we were on the road for 3 years, obviously there was always something to be fixed, touched up, whatever. As we know, these RVs are major challenges sometimes and always need some type of elbow grease or something has gone wrong that needs to be addressed. And I always found myself working on these things. I'm very handy and mechanically inclined, so a lot of things from having RVs for many years, I learned on my own. And there's also a whole lot that I didn't know and still don't know because there's just so much to know and so much constantly changing in the RV industry. So my wife said to me one day after I helped this elderly couple, they were driving a Class A, I think it was Allegro bus specifically, and they took a corner too tight, a right-hand turn, I should say, and pulled way too close to a telephone pole and didn't rip anything off, but they got pinched to where there was no backing out of the situation they were in and there was no pulling forward. And I had to go remove their entire awning so that they could squeeze by and get out of this place because on top of it all, they were at the main entrance and nobody could get out that morning to get going to their next destination. And so I was the only one that had somewhat any idea of what was going on. So I decided that I would help them. And fortunately, I was able to help them and they went on their merry way. I reinstalled the awning and everything was fine. And after that, my wife looks at me and goes, you do this a lot and you're really good at it. Why don't you think about becoming a certified tech? And then you can open your own business, something that you've always been wanting to do. And most importantly, being able to help others. It's huge. I enjoy it. And I enjoy RVing, obviously. I've been doing it for many, many years. As I stated, I started at 4 years old and I'm now 39. 3 of those years, I was a full-time nomad with no house, no home base, no nothing, and just traveled by the wind, trying to see any and everything that we possibly could in this country. So that's why I'm here today. I own my own business, and now a certified RV tech, and it's been pretty good. I don't necessarily have one specific hardest call. Honestly, many calls are challenging at one point or another for one reason or another. As we know, nothing's ever straightforward, specifically RVs. Even though I feel like sometimes RV owners think that RVs are really simplistic and should be really easy to work on, and unfortunately, they're not. Two calls that come to mind currently. The one I mentioned earlier where the freshwater tank was overfilled and dropped right out of the bottom of the travel trailer onto the campsite and pulled down all the electrical and water lines with it and the underbelly, everything. That was a super challenging call, something I had never dealt with before. And I was able to piece it all back together and get them back up and running 100%. And they were able to leave the next morning and get back home safely. Another call that I remember was removing an old Norcold fridge, double door Norcold fridge, out of an older Class A. And as you may know, oftentimes these appliances are put in before the RV build is complete. So it's a little bit easier for them to get things in versus for us to get things back out or for us to even just work on appliances or whatever it may be. And I had to cut this fridge in half to get it back out of the front door so that I didn't have to remove a window or pull a slide, because I didn't think those are great ideas for me being a one-man show and being in the field. So fortunately, we got it out. And then the next challenge was to get the new fridge back in. Well, I surely can't cut the new fridge in half, well, because then that would render a brand new fridge bad. So the owner and I had to put our minds together of what we were going to disassemble to get the fridge in, the front door. So I had to remove the front door of the Class A because the hinges were in the way, I think, if I remember correctly. And then I also removed the doors of the refrigerator to give us a few extra inches there. We were able to get everything back together and install the fridge, and the rest is history. So those are the two calls that I can think of. But as mentioned, not many things are straightforward, and they cause you to have some good knowledge and education of the foundation of whatever it is that you're working on. And then sometimes you have to think outside the box, especially with intermittent issues. When ugly's not ugly enough, sometimes it's hard to find. And when things are working appropriately at that time, it's hard to say what is going on, because sometimes you can't find it until the ugly's ugly enough, as mentioned before. Most common job I run out here in Poncha Springs and surrounding areas, Colorado, is furnace issues. Obviously, as mentioned, we stay much cooler up here than other parts of the country, so furnaces are used many times of the year. So what I have done with my business is I have kind of focused around furnaces because it is my number one call. And so I've done everything I can to build stock of many different motors, whether it be Suburban or Dometic, as many different sales switches as I can get my hands on, to any other component of both major brands of furnaces, so that I hopefully can come out to you, diagnose you, get you back up and running the same day so that you can have heat. The last thing I want is for you to freeze your tush off because your furnace has gone bad and I didn't have the part you need. Now, obviously, there's the occasion where that happens, especially with older furnaces or older appliances where they've become obsolete and replacement parts are no longer available. But otherwise, I position my business around that. And every time I come across something I don't have in stock that I've had to special order for furnaces, I end up ordering multiples of those components so that I can be better situated to assist you should you come out here and have a furnace issue. The other common job I have is frozen water pipes. Surprise, right? So I maintain a ton of PEX, 1/2 inch, 3/8. Most of the time it's 1/2 inch. And then what I do when I do the repairs, especially if it's dealing with fittings, PEX fittings, oftentimes plastic PEX fittings are used. And what I do is I pull those plastic fittings out and I replace them with brass. I don't use anything else but brass fittings. And I feel like that makes a big difference. It's one less area of failure, especially when PEX is pretty much lifelong. The only thing that I've seen that fails, in my experience, once you put a brass fitting in, is the PEX crimp itself will expand should the water get in around it and freeze. It pushes it up, and then that's where you'll see the leak at that point. Instead of your plastic PEX fitting, it'll develop a crack in it. So I feel that has mitigated some of those issues, and those are two of the most common jobs I run. I am Chris Wade. I'm the owner-operator of Doc's Mobile RV Service, located in Poncha Springs, Colorado, the crossroads of the Rockies. I service a 30-mile radius around here to include Salida and Buena Vista, Colorado. You can reach me at 719-221-0771, an email address of info@docsmobilerv.net. And I have a website, www.docsmobilerv.net. That's DOCSMOBILE RV.net. You can also find me on the database rvhelp.com. If you're ever in need of assistance and you're in this area, I look forward to hearing from you.